You're a massive, massive Red Devil. Been seeing you posting it. Some interesting questions too. And it's a big one for us Red Devils, I suppose, this weekend up against Chelsea. Honestly, how are you feeling about this one? Because I myself, I'm a bit worried. I'm not going to lie. I feel like there's some momentum with Chelsea going into this one under Thomas Tuchel. And then obviously United, you know, the emotions. There's always ups and downs. And I feel like Chelsea could have this one.
Yeah, they are a team on form. You could argue United are on form as well. I think United have struggled playing the big boys here and there. Although, to be fair, I think this season they've done quite well against the big boys and slipped up against the smaller teams. Tuchel has obviously injected a little bit more impetus and passion into the team. When you look at a Chelsea team on paper and you're asking for individuals to show up, I don't know if Havertz or Timo Werner or Abraham have really stepped up in a way that Marcus Rashford has, in a way that Bruno Fernandes has. Luke Shaw's playing the season of his life. I think there's a strong argument to say that maybe the United players individually are playing better, but there is a nice team mentality in the Chelsea team currently.
What do you think you put that down to? Because, of course, I keep bringing this up in a lot of my interviews because I've spoken to so many of the players, and they always say how Ole seems to... One skill that he has that's, I suppose, so underrated is that he's such a good man manager. He's managed to find a balance where he can still command respect, but also still, relate to the players on a player-to-player level. So how much props do you think you give Ole for that?
Ole's fantastic. I mean, I think one of the things that Ole has instilled in the team is to show the example that he set, which is that he was arguably the greatest super sub of all time for Manchester United. And that was a mentality. There's a lot of players that can come off the bench and maybe steal a goal here and there. But I mean, obviously Ole got 90 minutes every so often, but Ole's mentality was, I'm going to be as effective as a player that might play for 90 minutes, because if I only get 20 or 40 or 80, I'm going to make it count. And I think he's injected into the entire team, not just the 11 that play. You on the bench might get a chance. You might get 15 minutes and 20 minutes. And I don't want to hear any nonsense about, well, why didn't I play a full game? Because I'm Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and I made my career on coming off the bench and scoring 2, 3, 4 goals every so often. So I just think he's added a real Manchester United identity, young kids, young Mancunian kids, and then brought in the Bruno Fernandes to kind of add a little bit more of that talent and that passion injected into the team.
Oh, we're going to talk about Bruno in just a bit, but let me continue on Ole as well, because one of the things we do love to do in the media is go on the roller coaster of Ole emotions as well. And I still feel like, even though, finishing in the top 4 last season, almost against all odds, literally with the pandemic coming around, and then again looking to potentially finish second, we'll talk about whether we've resigned the title already this season. There's still so many questions about Ole, or there's still so many people that are still uncertain if he's the right one long term. Where do you stand in that?
Yeah, I don't really listen to that. My dad's a City fan, unfortunately, so I get a lot of stuff from... Yeah, it's a shame. I get a lot of stuff from my dad, the stuff that he reads in the papers. And, over the years, I've met Ole. He's very
name drop.
He's not in any way interested in what the media has to say. He's interested in what, the people at Manchester United have to say and the fans. He gets my unconditional support. I'm very much kind of long live the king. The king is dead, long live the king. Whoever comes in, to be the manager of Manchester United, I support them until the next manager comes in. But, Manchester United, alongside, you could argue, Barcelona and Real Madrid, are the biggest football team in the world. I know there are other teams that might have won more. They might be playing better right now. But if you go to any part of the world, people aren't talking about Manchester City. They're talking about Manchester United. That is just a fact. I mean, I'm obviously a United fan, but that is a fact. I've traveled around the world. If you're the manager of Manchester United or a player for Manchester United, you are going to go through the ups and downs of the media saying, if we win, Manchester United are going to win the Champions League. They're the best team in England. They're back. And if we lose, Ole out. What's wrong with Paul Pogba? What's wrong with Marcus Rashford? Sell this person, sell this person. I don't subscribe to any of that stuff. it's a game of football. There's a 33% chance that we'll lose. Sometimes we lose, sometimes we win, sometimes we draw. I support them all the time.
And then I'm interested to hear you say that your dad's a City fan, I suppose, because since I moved here, that's what everybody's told me here in England, that if you're actually from Manchester, you are a Manchester City fan. So how did you get to go to the red side?
So both my parents are from Manchester. My dad from Fallowfield and my mum from, I think, like more like Offerton, Cheadle type way. I was born in Germany in the mid 1970s. At that point, Manchester City were, you know, an awful team, and they were up until, you know, 7 or 8 seasons ago, and not a very good team at all. The only 2 teams that really travelled over to Germany to make the newspapers were Liverpool, who at that point were in their pomp, and Manchester United. And I think my dad thought, well, I don't want him supporting Liverpool because it's going to be tough going through school. So we supported United, and they're easy to support. You know, they have glamorous players. They play attacking, positive football. The cool thing about my dad supporting City is it gives us a nice dynamic for us to have some fun with each other and tease each other. And I do want City to win when they're not playing United because it's good for my dad. I don't necessarily want City to win the Champions League, but I do want them to win. And apart from that, I want United to win. So I support Manchester, the City. Obviously, my favourite team is Manchester United, and far, 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 far down below that is Manchester City. But would I rather City beat Liverpool or Liverpool beat City? Of course, I'd want City to win.
Ah, brilliant stuff. That then. I mean, I suppose that's a good excuse. And you're a Manchester person overall, then, which we can go with that one.
I mean, Liverpool are our ultimate rivals. You know, it's not Manchester City. If you look at the titles, if you look at our history, if you look at our head-to-head, Liverpool are our rivals ultimately, not Manchester City. Maybe that dynamic changes over the next 10 years, but who knows?
Speaking of ultimate rivals, though, I'll just throw in this one. How do you feel about Leeds being back in the Premier League? Because you have those that say, you know what, the Premier League and football in England is always better when you have a Leeds back in there. Just like, you know, if Liverpool ever, knock on wood for Liverpool fans, got relegated, you know, United fans, I'm sure, would still miss the kind of thing, the rivalry that goes about there. So where do you stand with that?
Yeah, you would miss those games. I mean, I think Leeds this season have cemented a place. They play positive attacking football. Obviously, Bielsa is a fascinating manager, and I love hearing him speak, and I love seeing him on the sidelines. Patrick Bamford is very often my captain in fantasy football. He's playing out of his skin. They don't have a great defence, but they don't care. They just say, look, we're going to leak goals in the back. Maybe we'll let in 2, so we're going to go score 3. I like watching Leeds play. I never thought I'd say that. I'd like to see them stay in the Premier League, and it's always fun playing them. And at some point, they're going to come to Old Trafford. It's going to be full of people. There's going to be 80,000 people, and it's going to be amazing to see that rivalry back with a vengeance.
It's absolutely going to be amazing. Back to the Chelsea clash now coming up this weekend. United don't really have the best record either at Stamford Bridge, and everybody's saying that the momentum now is with Chelsea. So if you're United, you're Ole, how are you going into this one? How are you lining up your troops?
I would rest Anthony Martial. I don't think Anthony Martial has been that great this season. I think he's kind of come and gone a little bit.
Is it confidence lacking?
Maybe confidence lacking. He gets a little sulky. If he's not had the right ball to his feet in the first 20 minutes of the game, he kind of goes missing. I don't think we can afford to have any players go missing in this Chelsea game. I would start Rashford, obviously. Bruno Fernandes is obviously essential. I would probably have Scott McTominay in there to kind of shore up the midfield. I like the way Scott McTominay plays. He's a strong physical presence. He's got a lot of pace. In the second half, if we're looking for goals, Mason Greenwood, I would probably, if Paul Pogba's fit, I would probably think about playing Paul Pogba. But my big thing, and we'll see what Ole does about it, but my big thing is maybe rest Anthony Martial and bring on someone, maybe even start Mason Greenwood, someone full of aggression and speed that really wants to prove themselves at United.
Absolutely love that, because I have so much time for Mason Greenwood. I call him Mason Gunwood. So I suppose let's talk about some individuals there. I mean, at his age, I could barely finish my homework, and look at what he's doing. For you, is he like the real deal? I mean, I don't want to put him in the same bracket as certain other youngsters like a Kylian Mbappe, but just how special, at least for you, do you see, or what special that you see in him?
Yeah, he's very special. And if you talk to any of the backroom staff at United, including Ollie, you know, everyone rates him in the same way that they rated Marcus Rashford kind of 8-10 years ago. He's got everything. He's two-footed. You never know when he's going to score, when he's going to pull the trigger. He can score with both feet. He passes well. He's obviously got tons of energy. Doesn't seem to get injured. He's very positive. He wants to play. I think they're treating him with kid gloves, which is a great idea. The same thing that they did with Ryan Giggs back in the day, the same thing that they did with Marcus Rashford. You give him a chance, and then maybe you give him the opportunity to take a rest for a couple of weeks, maybe play him in Europe. I think he is the real deal. Him and Marcus Rashford up front in the next maybe 2 or 3 seasons are going to be terrifying. And also, if you look at the England team, you know, over the next few major competitions, we have a phenomenal team now. So we should look to be winning these competitions for England now.
Absolutely. And you mentioned Marcus Rashford there. I mean, what else is left to say about this? I was going to say this young man, because he really and truly is still a young man, yet still I'm outside hosting, you know, rallies to have Marcus Rashford for Prime Minister. I can only vote for Prime Minister of Jamaica, but if he wants to run for Prime Minister of Jamaica, I absolutely would vote for him too. But just how remarkable is he? Probably future United captain?
Remarkable young man. Future England captain, future Manchester United captain. When I've been lucky enough to watch United train when they've come over to LA, there was a time where I was talking to one of the fitness coaches and they were doing drills, just kind of running up and down the pitch. And Marcus Rashford was next. And we were talking and the guy stopped me and he said, hang on a second, watch Marcus. And he just like stopped me from talking and had me concentrate on the speed, the pace of Marcus Rashford. It looked like he was running twice as fast as everyone else. He's just a phenomenal talent. My favourite thing about Marcus Rashford off the pitch, because obviously he's done an extraordinary amount of things off the pitch in the last year or so, is he's emboldened these young boys and girls that might have had trouble at school when people say, you can't afford your own school dinner, you have to get it paid for by the taxpayer, and you know, you've not got the same amount of money as us. And these kids now can say, yeah, that's what Marcus Rashford did. And Marcus Rashford has raised money for us personally and kind of empowered us to be on the same path that he was on when he was our age. And look at him now. He's playing for Manchester United. He's going to be captain for Manchester United one day. He's going to be captain for England one day. I love the fact that he stepped forward and said, I was a disadvantaged young kid. I was a disadvantaged young boy. And look at where I've gone to. I'm proud of who I am. And fair play to him, and everything that comes for him in the future. We just hope he stays uninjured. He's a remarkable young man.
Absolutely remarkable what Marcus Rashford is doing on and off the pitch. Another name too that you did mention, and we have to tuck straight into him right now, Bruno Fernandes, because and I mean, I just remember that when he did sign for Manchester United, it didn't really have the bells and whistles and the shininess that everybody was kind of expecting whenever anybody signs for Manchester United. But now we've been having the conversation, at least here on ESPN, about is he at least the best Manchester United signing in recent transfer windows? And I mean, United obviously have signed some legendary names. So where does he rank for you? And just what do you think of this impact that he's had for United?
Yeah, I mean, he's in that conversation, right? Is he the most impactful player for any elite professional soccer team in the world right now? Who else can you talk about? Obviously, you can talk about Messi, you can talk about Ronaldo, you can talk about Mbappe, you can talk about Lewandowski. But in terms of the assists and goals that Bruno Fernandes is involved with, you absolutely have to talk about him as well. I think he showed up. He's not the most physically imposing guy. You know, he's quite slight. He doesn't necessarily look like a weapon. He doesn't look like Paul Pogba. He doesn't look like Scott McTominay. So you think, oh, okay, not too sure about this guy. But in terms of his footballing brain, the decisions that he makes on the pitch, he's absolutely brilliant. What I'm nervous about, obviously United are about to kick off in Europe in the next couple of hours or so. We won our first leg 4-0. I sincerely hope that Bruno Fernandes doesn't play. I hope he hasn't travelled. I hope that he gets wrapped in cotton wool. He is at a point in his career where he wants to play every single game. He's at that age. He doesn't seem to be picking up any injuries. But Manchester United now have to manage someone like him, like they did with Beckham, like they did with Roy Keane, like they did with Cantona, where they say, look, we will play you for the Chelsea game, for the Liverpool game, for the City game, for the Barcelona and Real Madrid game. But we're probably going to rest you for the games that are already a foregone conclusion, because he is our most valuable player. Without Bruno Fernandes, I think you're then looking at other players around that don't have the same ability to put the game on their back and say, let me go make 2 goals for you.
I honestly want to personally carry Bruno Fernandes on a mini vacation. I will pay for it if we're flying economy. I will pay for it myself once COVID allows people to travel. But then I'll probably dip into your salary as well, and we can upgrade him to first class.
Take him to Jamaica. I think he deserves a couple of weeks on the beach in Jamaica, having a few mocktails, jumping in the ocean. You take care of him.
Bruno, we've got you. When you're ready for your vacation, just call us, because we're absolutely going to do that. Someone else who could probably need a vacation as well, Paul Pogba. Let's talk about him, because when it's his day, boy, is it his day. But then there's also the fact that he has made headlines in recent times, as early as last year, for all the wrong reasons we want to say, and then agents coming out talking about, you know, maybe he wants to leave, he's not happy at Man United. But, you know, then he goes out there and just really silences all these critics. So what do you think? Is he a player that United have to keep at all costs, knowing that we are now just a couple months away from a summer transfer window?
I mean, he's a phenomenal talent, Paul Pogba. There's no question. What an incredible athlete. You know, I think, unfortunately, because of his dynamic look, because of his dynamic appearance, the way that he plays, his fashion sense, all that kind of stuff, he does make the papers alongside his talent, obviously. I think it feels to me that maybe Paul Pogba doesn't necessarily want to be the man at Old Trafford. He might want to be the man's right-hand man. You know, he wants to be the guy that helps Bruno Fernandes have the best game. He wants to be the guy that helps Marcus Rashford have the best game. So I think maybe he was being played in a way that he didn't want to be played. The last couple of games that he's played, he's been brilliant. Wouldn't surprise me if we see him playing for Chelsea, because he is a big game player. He doesn't shy from, you know, those big opportunities. Well, you know, if he wants to stay at United, this is the thing nowadays with player power. If a player wants to leave, I don't think a team can do anything. They have to let him go. If a player wants to stay, then we have to make that case for him, because he's brilliant. I don't know where else he would go that would have the same effect. Does he fit into a Real Madrid team? Does he fit into a Bayern Munich team or a Barcelona team? I'm not sure. We could easily make him into a legend if he gets more and more game time, but that's going to be down to the player and us generally ignoring his agent. I think agents can be a nightmare at the best of times. I'm an actor. You'd have to tell me.
I know. I've got an agent too. Big up my agent, but they can't be nightmares at the best of times. We hate them, but we love them. But also, just sticking on Paul Pogba, I remember, I think it was about 3-4 years ago, I think, when United were in LA as well for the ICC, and I was covering that as well. This was when under Jose Mourinho's tenure. And I remember I had asked Jose how we had just seen, you know, Pogba literally help lead France to a title in the World Cup. What can, you know, United do to bring the best out of him so we can see that Pogba? And Jose said, it's not up to United, it's up to the player to choose that. Do you think we've still yet to see the best of Paul Pogba at United?
Maybe, because if you look at the way that he's played for the French national team, he seems to always have a great game for the French national team. Obviously, they play way less games in a calendar year. You know, he's a big unit, Paul Pogba. I wonder if every week he just physically has the ability to bring it like that. I saw him as well when he was in LA. They were training at UCLA, and I said to a friend of mine, would it be all right to run over and get a picture with Paul Pogba? And she said, yeah, go ahead. So I say again.
You've saved Middle Earth. Are you kidding me?
So I started running as fast as I could to try and get over to him. And I was watching Paul Pogba, who was just jogging off the pitch, and he was taking like one step for every one of my 7. So I was like trying to run over to him, and he was just running like this gazelle. He just has such an amazing athletic ability. I do think it's up to the player. At the end of the day, agents can say whatever they want. You can get distracted with social media. You can have all these fashion things that goes on. You are an elite athlete, and your power is what you can do on that football pitch. And on any given day, Paul Pogba can beat any team single-handedly, you know. And who knows, maybe we see him in this Chelsea game.
Oh no, we definitely need Paul Pogba to have a brilliant game in that one if United want to win too. Well, we've talked about a lot of the attacking players because that's something that really has impressed so far this season for Man United. Defensively speaking, though, we'll get to Luke Shaw in a bit because some would say that he has been that consistent bright spark. Aaron Wan-Bissaka, I've got a lot of time for him too, but let's start off all the way in goal, because that's exactly where the conversation or the debate has started. David De Gea, probably one too many mistakes that he's been making that we're used to that we're not used to seeing from David De Gea. But I suppose some say, he's probably 1-2 seasons now past his best. It's time to chuck in Dean Henderson. Where do you stand in that too? And do you still want to hang on to David De Gea?
He's been great for us, David De Gea. He's been a brilliant goalkeeper. I think with some of the changes in the back line, it's always a challenge for goalkeepers to make sense of, the defenders that are now in front of them. And he's got an entirely new back line, apart from kind of Luke Shaw for the most part. So he's having to adapt to that. There has been a few mistakes, especially on set pieces for Manchester United, struggling with corners, struggling with free kicks, I don't know if that is necessarily Harry Maguire's greatest talent, is to defend from corners and free kicks. And obviously, at the end of the day, if one of those defenders make a mistake, then it's up to the goalkeeper to see if he can save the day. And I do think it's sometimes unfair on goalkeepers because so many other players on the pitch can make a mistake, but ultimately, if they score, it looks like the goalkeeper's made the mistake. But it can come from anywhere, I think De Gea is fantastic. If it were me, if I were Ollie, I would just start to very slowly rotate him. Maybe rest him for a Sheffield United game or a Burnley game or a Brighton game. Put in Hendo. Maybe play David De Gea in Europe the week after. Play Hendo for the second week in the Premier League. So now David De Gea has had 2 weeks off from the Premier League, but he's played in Europe. And just see how they do. We don't even know how Dean Henderson might do playing for United. He might have some high-profile mistakes as well. They're both incredible athletes. David De Gea has been brilliant for us over the last few seasons or so. But I think the problem might be with this changing back line, which then ends with David De Gea having to make a save or a goal goes in,
Love that. How are you not a manager already? We'll get to that.
We'll get there.
No, a while ago I was thinking of that idea and I was like, we should probably tell Ole that. Us commoner. Well, I'm a commoner. You're definitely not. Luke Shaw, though, boy, has he put in a shift. What's impressed you the most about this Luke Shaw that we are seeing as well? That at one point, a lot of people, including United fans, almost were ready to give up on him.
Yeah. I never felt that way. That's just a personal thing with me and Luke Shaw. He went out of his way to be very friendly to me on tour. We ended up kind of following each other on Instagram, and I chat to him here and there at the end of games and stuff. Obviously, he became a new father, and I don't think you can underestimate that. Once a player kind of cements himself, with his young family and his whole family system is set up, then all he needs to do is concentrate on his football. Obviously, Luke Shaw came back from a horrific leg break that could have been career-ending and is playing now for Manchester United at such a high level. His fitness rate has obviously jumped up. And I think maybe with that horrific leg break, it might have taken a season and a half for him to get back up to that place. As he's matured, his ability to read the game and stay in the position that he's supposed to be in is brilliant. I think his crossing has improved. I think his physical game in terms of his physical aggression has improved. And like you had said, Aaron Wan-Bissaka is phenomenal as well. So it's hard not to talk about, both wing backs. But I think Luke Shaw's probably having the best season of his career so far.
No, 100%. All right. Well, before we get into our five-a-sides now, I just have to ask your ambitions now or expectations for the season, because as some are starting to say that everyone's resigning to the fact that this could be Manchester City's title to lose right now at the rate they're going, 19 matches now, completely unbeaten, no signs of showing down. And this is the fact that they still have the likes of Sergio Aguero sitting on the bench just willy-nilly. So for you, happy with second and probably giving it a push in the Europa League, or what do you want to see?
I mean, I'd be more than happy with second. If you said at the start of the season, would you take second and Manchester City win the league? I think most Manchester United fans would bite your hand off, you know. What's been frustrating for me this season, and obviously we have all of the complications with COVID, which has been a devastating change in all of our lives. What's been frustrating for me is I think you could argue this might be the easiest Premier League title to win ever since the Premier League has begun. Not one team is necessarily on fire. Obviously, City have gone on this 19-game streak, but I've seen City play better. I've seen them play better seasons, you know. I just don't think any other team really want it. Tottenham are in a little bit of a mess. Chelsea obviously switched their manager. They're now back in form, but they had to go through the switch of their manager. Liverpool are all over the place. Arsenal are not the team that they used to be. United is starting to build some momentum, and you know, you could make a strong argument to say they might be the second or third best team in the Premier League. But if we put our put our head down and really went for it and put together a run, I think this season could have been an opportunity for us to walk the Premier League title home. And it's just City that have done that instead. The only way that they slip up is City are in 4 competitions. If they get distracted with the Champions League and with a couple of these other competitions, get injured, maybe lose a couple of games in the Premier League, the team that's chomping up their heels is obviously United and Leicester. I'm not sure if Leicester are ultimately going to do it. I think City will win the league. I don't think they'll win it by a record margin, but I think they'll win it. I think we'll come second, Leicester third, and yeah, I think probably Chelsea fourth.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.